Hello guys! In this video, I'm going to go through bad money habits that are keeping a lot of people poor. So just before I go through that, I'm going to do a money count. There's roughly about $700 here and I'm going to distribute the funds accordingly whilst I go through the bad money habits. The first one is people being lazy. That is costing so many people money just out of pure laziness. For example, I saved $400 off my landlord insurance and $90 off my car insurance just by shopping around for quotes online. It probably takes me about 10 to 15 minutes and I saved $90 on my car insurance and $400 on my landlord insurance, and that saving outweighs what I earn per hour on my wage. So it's absolutely crucial for you guys to shop around for your quotes, whether it's landlord insurance, home insurance, car insurance, even utility bills and phone bills as well. Because a lot of companies gradually increase your premium amount every single year. So I find that I save a lot of money when I hop around from insurer to insurer. Another bad money habit that is keeping a lot of people poor is their lack of effort in regards to researching and educating themselves within the finance space. For example, I like to listen to audiobooks, whether it's around self-help books or finance books or investing books. These are just topics that are interesting to me. Sometimes I'll look at health books. Now, one book that I found really good and informative was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. But one of the concepts he covers is rich people pay themselves first. And by that, I mean, as soon as someone gets a paycheck, a rich person will dedicate a set amount that they'll take out, for example, 10 or 15%, and put it straight into their savings account before they even consider looking at other bills and expenses. Whereas a poor person's mentality is as soon as they get paid, they sort out their bills and their expenses, and then whatever's left over, they put towards their savings account. Before we go into more detail, I just want to remind you guys that I'm not licensed to provide any financial advice. This video is for entertainment purposes only, and this is just purely based off my opinion, based on my own personal experiences. I personally put away a set amount in my savings account every single pay cycle before I do anything. And then I generally prioritize like my mortgage, my investing, and all of those goods after I have dedicated a set amount straight into my savings account. For whatever reason, if you are short one week, for example, if I'm short during that pay cycle for whatever reason, I will still pay myself first, put a set amount into my savings account, and then distribute the rest of the funds accordingly. Because if I have less, then I'm sure I can cut back on recreational expenses or even cut that category out completely for a week or two, because one thing I never forget is to pay myself first. Even if it means I've got to cut my grocery bill in half for that particular week, I mean, I'm sure I can whip up some food from using leftovers at home or my stockpile pantry. So for me, there's really no excuse as to why I can't pay myself first or why I'm not dedicating a certain amount of funds straight to my savings, because most people will find a way to save. And the next thing is people using credit to pay for things they can't afford. I personally never buy anything that I can't pay for in cash outright aside from a home. So obviously I bought my investment property and I didn't have cash to pay for that outright. But aside from that, there is nothing else that I own that I can't pay for in cash. Because the reason why I say that is because those who pay for things that they can't afford and put it on credit, the interest rate that are charged on credit cards are like 20-25%. The best maybe 18, maybe 15%, even personal loans. Those are so expensive. So if it's something that you don't absolutely need, I highly suggest to not buy it unless you can afford to pay for the item outright with cash. And don't forget, credit card companies want you guys to be bad with your finances because that way they make money off you. The next thing I want to mention is shop around for your interest rate. Even if it's a savings account, shop around for the best interest rate you can get so you get a better return for leaving your savings with a certain bank. If you have a home loan, shop around for the best interest rate again, so you can pay more of your home loan back in a shorter amount of time. Just remember, banks are not loyal to anyone. They normally give their best interest rates to brand new customers, and then after they've been with the bank for a while, they'll slowly increase the interest rate when it comes to a home loan. And if it's a savings account, generally they will decrease the interest rate as time passes by. So either way, you're losing out if you're not researching for the best interest rates, whether it's for your home loan or your savings account. Even when I film these cash stuffing videos for you guys, I keep majority of my funds in my savings account. That way it earns interest, so my money's not sitting there doing nothing. The funds, the cash that you guys see when I do my cash stuffing video is usually recycled. So for example, this investment envelope you guys can see here, that bill is not due until end of the year or beginning of next year. So that's why I swap out the money, I put in a placeholder, and then I can use the cash that I took out to be a visual representative when I film the next cash stuffing video. Now, I also want to mention putting all of your funds into a savings account isn't always the best idea. Personally, for me, I like to have a distribution of investments and savings account because I like the safety net of having cash on hand. But I am also aware that if I leave all of my funds in a savings account, I'm losing out because the bank's not paying me as much interest compared to the amount of money I'm having to pay to keep up with inflation, because the cost of food has gone up way more than what I'm getting back in return from the bank. I also wanted to mention another friendly reminder: don't make any changes to your finances unless you've done your own research or even spoken to a professional, because I can't give you any advice. I don't know what your circumstances are. Again, this video is just based off my experiences and it's based off my opinion, and it's purely for entertainment purposes only. Another thing I wanted to mention is don't just Google finance YouTubers and watch what they say and just follow along and invest in whatever they invest in, because this is just a reminder. They are also not licensed to provide any financial advice. They're just here to entertain you. Pretty ironic because I'm doing a video about this as well, but that's just the facts, right? Because I see some people make really big mistakes by researching what these big YouTubers are investing in terms of stocks. They go ahead and they buy those stocks and they end up losing pretty much 90% of their savings because one, they haven't done their own research. Two, they're taking financial advice from a YouTuber. And 99% of YouTubers are not licensed to give you guys financial advice. Even if they are financial planners, they cannot give you financial advice because they don't know what your financial circumstances are, and that varies, depends on the person. So please make sure you do your own research, your due diligence, and go speak with a financial advisor who can assess your finances before you make any changes if you're not really comfortable with making your own investment choices. Another important thing I really wanted to mention is don't invest money that you need. For example, I wouldn't buy stocks based off funds that I need for this particular week. If I'm investing in stocks, I'm using money that I will not need for the next 10 to 15 years, or money that I'm happy to completely lose, because we all know the stock market goes up and it goes down to rock bottom. You could make a whole lot or you could lose everything. It depends. Obviously, you can minimize that risk by doing your research and due diligence, because there are stocks out there that are a little bit safer than some. But yeah, it all comes down to doing your own research and understanding where you're putting your money into as well. The next one is pretty self-explanatory, but it's a mistake pretty much everyone makes, which is not meal prepping, going out to eat. And if you live in Sydney, you know it costs a fortune. So going out to eat, it's probably about $50 for two people, and that's not eating at a fancy place. It's probably just eating at a regular place in Sydney. So meal prepping and cooking at home saves me so much money. And if you guys hear snoring in the background, that is my dog sleeping, so apologies for that. Also, meal prepping saves me a lot of money because when I plan what I need, I'm not wandering into the shopping center just buying random things. So, when I go to the Coles and Woolies near me, I know exactly what I'm buying and I know exactly what those ingredients are going to be used for in terms of which meals I'm preparing for meal prep. Next one I also want to mention is I'd never go to the grocery shop when I'm hungry. Well, I wouldn't say never, but 90% of the time I don't do my grocery shopping when I'm hungry, because when I do, I buy all sorts of random things because I'm not really thinking. I'm just hungry and I'm just throwing random things in my trolley and I end up coming out with a massive grocery bill. So, rule of thumb, never go grocery shopping when you're hungry. Eat before you go or put a snack in your handbag. So, this pretty much wraps up my video, guys. Hopefully, you found it informative. I do have a few more tips if you guys are interested. Let me know if you guys want me to do a part 3. It's a pretty lengthy series. Thanks for watching.